Okay, so I'm working out. I did my meditation in the morning. I did this summit that was on New York time. I got up early. I did my social media meeting with my staff in the other side of the world. And so I'm doing my little workout and I'm listening to the song, Are You Having Any Fun? Are you getting, what is it? What are you getting out of living? And then I get bing, bing on my phone. It's like, your site is down. And so I've got my web team in California. I've got my staff in Philippines, and we're all trying to do this special number. And I'm just like, I could be like, stressing, but the little song is in the background going, Are you having any fun? And I'm like, just chill, Alana. You're doing your best, girl. You're doing your best. So it reminds me of this incredible podcast you're about to watch, because there's this moment near the end. We've had this incredible conversation. We've gone super deep. The tools are amazing. And then I'm like, okay, but what is like the most effective tool that you really have that you can support us all with? And listen to what she says, because it has a little something to do with this song. Oh, just to chill out, right? Like, what's serious is serious. Let's not to downplay what's serious. But a lot of things aren't so serious, and no need to create extra anxiety or stress within our life unnecessarily, and to do the work so that the tiny things don't. Oh, look, I'm even getting more texts right now. Okay, I need to go. More LastPass passwords and everything I need to do. But when we integrate these deep triggers that I have integrated in myself, I help my clients with, when we integrate these little moments that normally used to stress me the fuck out, don't. And I can have a little fun. So can you. So enjoy this podcast. Welcome to Intimate Conversations, Soul Medicine. Intimacy is an inside job. Hello, you delicious people. Welcome to another episode of Intimate Conversations. Here we are, season 11, Soul Medicine. And today we're going to be talking about shame and moving past painful lies or addictions into a delicious life of full self-expression with someone who was discontent, even like grasping for external goals to be happy. But now she has written the how-to book and also program on how to follow your bliss. And so let me tell you more about Shirin Etessam. And she is an entrepreneur, seasoned media executive, and transformational speaker. And she's produced films and original television series and specials, and created several companies and led campaigns for some of the world's most recognized companies. You'll know this: ABC, CBS, Discovery, BBC, Facebook, Apple, Intel, Virgin, so many more. And she is a proud member of the LGBTQIA+ community. And she's founded OML TV, which is a popular platform dedicated to streaming and curating quality queer female video content, and OML Originals, a female-led production company telling diverse female stories through a vast spectrum of film and television genres. And she guides seekers in her 6-week program, Free to Be, to disconnect their human being from their human doing to find true and lasting fulfillment. And she lives in Marin, California, with her wife and 2 children. And I'm so pleased to have you today so we can dive in and really have a beautiful heart-to-heart conversation. Thank you for being with us.
Super excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. So first, let's go back to the beginning when you were seeking these goals to be happy, and it wasn't working. And you took what sounds like a long 6-year journey inward. Tell us how that all unfolded and what you discovered.
Yeah. So I think that when one is sitting in a low hum of discontent, sort of like the slow boiling frog, we're unaware of our discontent. So I actually had no idea, or maybe I was afraid to look at what was true. during those times, and I call them my Walking Dead years. And what's really interesting is that I did have all the worldly goods. I had a beautiful partner, two gorgeous children. We had the homes, we had the, the cars, we had the status, we had the positions, everything that, we all strive for.
Yeah.
And at the end of 2013, my now ex and I had a 20-minute conversation one night, November 1st. And that 20-minute conversation ended our relationship. We were together for 13 years and we were friends for 9 years prior to that. So 22 years of love, friendship, partnership, just boom, went away.
What, may I ask what happened in the conversation? That 20 minutes was intense.
Yes. I don't even know if it was intense. More than anything, it was surreal. Like she said, and it has a little bit of history in that I tried to actually break it off on Valentine's the same year, so in 2013. And at that time, she had come back and said, let's work on the relationship. And we had done, we had gone to therapy and we'd gone to a couple of intensives, and I thought we were in a really good place. And, we put the kids to bed and she cracked open 2 bottles of beer. And usually we have some wine and we cook and we talk and all of that.
Yeah.
And she said we should talk. And I thought, she wanted to talk about something that was happening, at work or whatever. And she said the words I thought would never come out of her mouth. She said, I think we should part.
Wow.
And I didn't fight it. So I don't even know what the 20 minutes was. Really, it was a few minute conversation, but it did last 20 minutes. And, I told her that she could sleep in the guest room and she needed to be gone by the morning because it was no longer her house. And that was it. That was the beginning. That was, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shirin, let me ask you, for you to have this book and this program, I know you know how to feel.
Oh,
but back in that moment, did you know how to feel?
No.
Or did you sort of bypass and that began the journey?
It wasn't a bypass. I think of bypassing is sort of like kind of knowing and choosing not to. Whereas I felt like I just was propelled into an abyss of nothingness.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
No plan B, no, like nothing.
So you didn't cry or get angry or feel hopeless.
Oh, I don't know if I cried that. I think I was in shock.
Yeah.
And I didn't sleep a wink that night. And I remember I took, we had a commitment ring because at that time you couldn't get married.
Got it.
I took my commitment ring off and I whispered to myself, never again. And I think that never again wasn't a promise to myself that I wouldn't let her anywhere close to my heart again, which was definitely part of the decision. But never again, as in I will never allow myself to be in this place ever again. And that really began my journey, which I now call it bobbing for spiritual apples, because I had no idea what I was doing. And in the early days, I had a hashtag, I needed a motto, and it was better than this. And the thought was that if the next second, the next minute, the next hour was just a tiny bit better than what I was feeling now, that was an improvement. So I really made that the soul searching my priority. I still did everything that you mentioned in my intro, but my soul journey became a huge priority for me. Everything became secondary to that. And it made me really, really, really realize that soul searching, any sort of spiritual practice, which I call spiritual health, spiritual wellness,
Yeah.
is an on or off switch. Like you can't on and off it. I mean, you can, and I did for many years, but you're not going to reap the benefits.
Yeah.
The same way that if you go to a gym, every 6 months and work out, you may feel good right after that, but you're not going to see any differences. It's
Yeah.
really in the practice, the routine, the integration, and whether it be daily, every other day, weekly, whatever works for people, where you start seeing results.
Correct. I totally agree. Consistency. Yeah. So as you started to dive deep, bobbing for spiritual apples and soul searching and relating to the theme, we're talking about shame, or when we lie to ourselves or lie to others. What did you discover as you began to look inside? Was there something you were ashamed of? Were you lying to yourself?
I think that I think lying you would need the definition to know what the truth is in order to know that it's a lie. So
Yeah.
I can look back and say, yes, I was living a lie in that I wasn't being true to myself. But
Yeah.
at that time, I wasn't aware that it was a lie.
Right. You didn't know what truth was. Yeah.
I didn't know what my truth was. Correct. I think I was doing what I believed. I mean, I was very much in love with my partner
Mhm.
and very committed, but I was doing life as was expected of me rather than truly following my inner fire, my
Yeah.
my inner star, my
Yeah.
my soul. So and as far as shame, I mean, yes. I think that when, and shame has many different levels, but I think that when one is living from the inside out, it is because we are not trusting our our inner core. And I think that there's a lot of shame wrapped around that.
Mm.
That that maybe we were vulnerable before, maybe we tried to show up as our true authentic selves and it wasn't received well, or
Sure.
it
Rejected. Yeah.
was, yeah, pushed away or whatever it was. So, and we all have different levels of it, right? I mean, you hear a lot about disassociation
Yeah.
happening somewhere between when we're born and age 5 or age 7. We're like this, we are our inner stars when we are babies and toddlers and just shining.
Yeah.
And then, life starts creeping in and you realize, that there are rules and rejections. You don't always get what you want, that parents can leave you alone, that whatever it is, and people have it to different degrees. And everyone feels it, right? But the levels are different. And I think that once we disassociate from our true selves, we just layer it with external wants and desires and expectations and all of that. So for us to be able to go back
Yeah.
to our original state is almost impossible,
Mm.
right? Because we don't know. So long answer to your to your question. I feel that shame and lying, I don't know if lying is the exact right term, but I think that's baked into to all of that.
Yeah.
Anytime we are living from the outside in, we're not being truthful to ourselves. And there is
100%.
shame involved. and there is, you know, lying involved, I suppose.
Yeah, thank you so much. I remember I've had 2 divorces. I remember the first one, my mom came down to be with me and she's like, "You can turn the sign off now." And I'm like, "What?" She goes, "Failure, failure, all above your head." And I said, "Oh, yeah." And what I'd realized in the first marriage, it was like a daddy wound that I'd never healed. And I wanted someone to save me so I could feel safe. So tall, dark, and handsome, Wall Street broker, that sounds perfect. And I never asked if I chose him, only he chose me. And I realized that I couldn't stay in this little box. And it looked good in the beginning, but I died. My soul was dying inside. And so I was lying or denying or avoiding my own truth, my own light, seeking, as you just so brilliantly said, from the outside in, safety and approval in him. And when that went off, I really did feel like a failure. I really felt, well, I failed the marriage, but I've also failed in love. I've failed in self-worth. And it was really dark and difficult to begin to heal from that. And yet that's where what does Joseph Campbell say? The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure that you seek. So we need to do this soul searching, as you said, and dive into the dark to find the true light. And second, I really love what you're saying about disassociation. All these years later, 2 divorces, now I'm in my 50s, and a very abusive relationship. And I, since have in the last year, gone through for the first time psychedelic somatic integration. I did plant medicine, 20, 25 years ago, ayahuasca, beautiful experiences, but I couldn't integrate the lessons into my body. I would still, when things got tough, I would still leave my body. And so this therapy, thank goodness, has helped me heal a lot of this disassociation mixed with the wisdom of what happened, not going back to the necessary innocence of being 5 again, but the back in my body, like 5 years old, with wisdom of a 50-year-old. And so I'm very curious too, these wounds over time. How did your parents receive your sexual orientation as you were growing up? Were you embraced? Were you shamed? How did that go for you as you grew up into an adult?
I'm so glad you asked that question because I haven't been asked that before. I don't know if people shy away from my sexuality or just it wasn't important in the conversation, but I'm really glad that you asked. For having Iranian parents, and my parents, my father unfortunately passed in December, but I've always said that I feel like I've won the lottery of families.
Oh, wow.
It hasn't always been easy, but I grew up knowing that I had a safety net. I
Wow.
knew that I could go out there and do everything that I have done, but that if I needed to come home at any time, that the doors would be wide open. And when I came out to my parents, I was in my 20s, and I told my dad first, and he said, and mind you, this is in the 90s, and so the world didn't have the kind of exposure that we have now.
Yeah.
So in his minds, it was very much like gay bars and leather and chains and all of that. So I had to explain to him that I have, I don't take part in that. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but that's not what I'm involved in.
Yeah.
And, and he made it really clear that ultimately he wanted my happiness. And his exact words were, "I don't really understand this, but I love you regardless," which is all anyone wants to hear.
Totally.
So yeah, and then my mom, I told a while later, and she was in denial. And mind you, my ex and I were dear friends for 9 years prior to getting together. And so it didn't quite click in her mind, like and then she was kind of distant from me and didn't really speak to my partner at the time, which was really uncomfortable for both of us because they were always quite close.
Sure.
And then we bought a place together. I remember I showed my mom the blueprint to the house, and it was on 2 floors. And she's like, "Oh, so which one is your floor?" And I was like, "Both of them are ours, and
Yeah.
this is the master bedroom." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Took her a while, but by the time I have 2 kids and they're both adopted. And by the time the first one came home, I don't know if it was just because it was a level of normalcy for her, and we had formed a family structure,
Yeah.
but that kind of changed everything. And then she went from denial to being one of our biggest advocates, which is really
Wow.
great. So, so overall, it was received really well. And again, I think about it, specifically as Iranian parents, and mind you, they're academics and intellectuals, so it's a little different.
Yeah.
But yes, very open-minded and accepting. So very
Oh,
fortunate.
I so love to hear that. How did they, I'm assuming it was open-minded as well when you broke the news that you were completing your relationship. Were they a big support for you when you were going through that dark night of the soul, or was it more a solo journey?
I definitely found my tribe during that time. I found a lot of comfort from my family, but I didn't really lean on them for much more. And comfort was enough, like just like bring me food and love me.
Oh.
Um, but I didn't really, and I think that it was, and my dad at the time was going back and forth to Iran. And I remember, it's just a little funny sidebar.
Uh-huh.
We had after the breakup, we had a video call, and usually we talk on the phone, and we did a video call, and he's not very, wasn't very tech savvy. So somebody had set him up, but whoever was on the video before, I don't even know if they have it, but they have like little cartoon things that
The
pop
little
up,
ears.
like little ears or a hat or whatever. And and we couldn't get rid of it. He had this cowboy hat on the top of his head, and he's like, "Shirin, what is that?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And I'm like, try to turn it. So we had this really emotional conversation with him having this hat. So yes, life is very funny.
Oh, life is delicious. That's so great. That is so great. Wow. Ah, and so you're going through this difficult time, and you realized that there was a lesson, I'm sure, in this relationship that you took with you as wisdom into the present moment and future. I have many, I call them my Alana Pratt method processes. I've developed them over like 20, 25 years. And one of them, the beginning of the process is a little politically correct, but the end of the process, a little more spiritual. But you basically at the end sit down and you imagine the perpetrator, the betrayer, the one who hurt you or done you wrong, just as a ball of light that's in front of you. And it was a lesson that your soul chose to experience for your own evolution. So you're not a victim whatsoever, and you bring this ball of light into your body. So you embody the lesson, not just have an intellectual understanding of it, so that truly that lesson need not happen again. And you can truly look back with gratitude. Thank you. I'm better now, right? This kind of idea. So what did you discover when it was from your first relationship? Because now you're married again. And so how have you learned and applied this lesson to have a healthier relationship?
You were talking about your ex, and I have something similar, not the abusive one, but the one who played big. And I say that because my therapist would call it her big, and would also call what I was doing shrink to fit. So I was
Ah,
shrinking in order to feel
Yep.
loved.
Yep. Got it.
And I think that was the biggest lesson for me there. There's relationship wise, there are two big lessons. One is that I truly believed that she was magical,
Hmm.
and that as long as I could be associated with her, be with her, build a life with her, my life would be magical too.
Wow.
I didn't think the magic was within me, was
Right.
because shrink, shrink, shrink.
Sure. We
And
don't
so
find it.
I molded myself entirely around her life, not realizing that I had done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And propping her up, putting her front and center, taking care of everything in the background, even with kids. She now adores the kids and we share custody. But for a long time, she didn't want to have kids.
Wow.
And we, and I was like the little kid who wants a puppy, I'll wash him and I'll walk him and I'll take it, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just agree with it and I'll do all the responsibility.
Right.
And she took that literally, so that when the kids came around, I was, on the executive team of a startup and I was primary caretaker. And I was averaging 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night, which compounded everything.
Sure. Sure.
So I was shrinking to fit, and I thought the magic was outside of me.
Right.
And in the 6-year process, I very much got my own magic.
Nice.
And not to, I mean, she is still, who she is and doing what she does. Doesn't mean that she has less magic or any of that. And, hopefully her partner is benefiting from that or whatever it is. It isn't about her.
Yeah.
But I found my magic. And to that, I want to add, and I could talk more about that.
Yeah.
But I also did the Hoffman process. Do you know the Hoffman process?
Yes, I've heard of it. I haven't done it, but I've heard of it. Yeah.
So, I love doing retreats and such, which doesn't mean that that's all I do and I don't do anything else. And that's important to point out because of what I mentioned earlier of spiritual practice having to be a daily or woven into our lives.
Yes.
But I did the Hoffman process. It was 5 or 6 months before I met my wife. And it's a pretty surreal week. It's one of those, it's kind of classic retreat in that you have to turn in your cell phone. You have no, if there's an emergency, obviously, there's ways to be reached. But, and it's actually really nice because, I set it up, work wise and relationship wise, as in with friends and family, that I was going to be off the grid. I'm going to be okay, especially with the kids.
Yeah.
And so I could deep dive into this, and very surreal experience. You do some really weird stuff, which I won't go into, but pretty amazing. And so I arrived there on a Saturday. I left on a Friday. And it was literally the first time in my life. And mind you, I had already been on the journey.
Sure.
But it was the first time in my life that I felt absolutely complete. That I still wanted to meet the one. I wanted to be the one. But I was very, very clear, and I meant it, like I felt it viscerally.
Yeah.
I didn't need it.
Oh.
That if I was just on my own for the rest of my life,
Yep.
I would be okay and I would be happy.
Yes.
And to meet somebody from that place
Yes.
made all the difference.
Yes. Oh, I really want that to sink in. I really want that to sink in. So the processes leading up to it and that 1 week experience tipped you, shifted you into wholeness and completeness on the inside, where all that you had been seeking on the outside, you found on the inside, like that?
Absolutely. And my book is actually part of it is a result from that experience, in that, you know, they talk about, and I talk about it in the book, they talk about the I don't know if they call it holy quadrinity or just quadrinity, but the quadrinity being your mind, body, heart, and soul.
Yeah, nice.
And so which I call the tribe of you.
Mm.
And so that there is an acknowledgement and a relationship with all those different parts of us.
Yep.
And there's definition around it. And that definition is super, super important, because we often task the wrong parts of us to do certain things. You know, we ask the heart to do something that should be done with the mind, you know, and or the heart with something that the body should do, or that the soul should do. So,
oh, please give me an example. This is fascinating to me. I've never heard of it.
oh my God, biggest example.
Yeah.
Follow your heart. So following your heart is, I believe, a absolute misnomer. What it should be is follow your soul. Our hearts, you know, people call it your inner child. I call it your inner puppy. All our hearts want,
Yeah.
is to be loved, to be seen, to be cared for, to be protected, be acknowledged. That is it. That is all the heart wants. And the heart is super fickle. So it may want ice cream right now. It may want to take a nap next. It's true. I mean, it's a baby. It's you know, it gets its feelings hurt. It has, and all of those things are great, and it should be tended to.
Yeah.
But why follow this fickle thing? Tend to it, you know, create boundaries for it, nurture it, help it grow. But it's truly your soul you should allow to lead. So that's what I mean. It's creating those definitions, and you could say, you know, well, that's just, you know, whatever, a naming convention, or you know, but truthfully, when you have that definition, then you allow your heart to rest while you are making a major decision. You're not relying on your brain to figure out if you truly feel connected to someone or something, you know, because the brain is, you know, defaults to the negative, and you know, it can really F you up.
Totally. You can swear on the
that's
show.
what I
It's totally
mean.
fine. Yeah. I think this can now turn into like a 2-hour podcast. So we're going to do our best. And if we have to do part 2, we do part 2, because this is great. What I want to let you know, Shirin, is that I have been all about the heart. Ever since my best friend died when I was 16 years old, I remember going, I could close my heart and say, fuck you, God. My best friend just died. I'm not, you know, I'm closing down, bitter. Or I could keep my heart open, be grateful for the time I had with my best friend, and learn how to live in this really crazy place with my heart open. So that's what I did. I decided to live with my heart open. And we know from science, the field of our heart is like 60 times greater than the field of our brain. And even though I'm a cum laude graduate of an Ivy League school, it's like, okay, brain, thanks very much, but I'm going to go with the heart. But here's what I never learned until this very last year of my life. The soul, as you're saying, my understanding, the way I operate, is that my soul is in my hips. And it's pre-verbal, and it's like, it just knows. And the heart is important scientifically to be open and coherent, so the best of my brain comes on and my intuition comes on. So it's important to have it open and have its back. But I thought I had an intuition. I didn't. I was numb in my pelvis from sexual abuse as a child. And I didn't know that. So my intuition that I thought I had, my instincts, my soul, my knowing in my hips, I couldn't access it. I could just access whether somebody felt safe or not. That's all I could access. And then in this last year of my life doing this work, and like I'm in my body, in my head, I'm in my body, in my heart, my hips were numb, just numb. I couldn't even feel my bum muscles. I was disassociated there. And now that I've come back in, I'm like, oh, I have a basement. I have a soul. I have discernment. I have awareness in my hips that I'd never had before. So that's why I'm so fascinated with these 4 quadrants, because I couldn't access this until like a year ago.
So you just, you so hit the nail on the head.
Tell me.
So the first part of my book
Yeah.
is all about clearing your slate.
Yeah.
So first chapter, first week is detoxing the brain. Second is detoxing the heart. Third is detoxing the body. And why? And not in the conventional ways that one would think about any of those. And I could talk about those, but it's absolutely what you just said, because if there is so much schmut on top of schmut, we disassociated, say, at 5 years, then
Yeah.
schmut, all this white noise. And somehow we're supposed to be able to know what our bliss and where our soul is. Right. So you did the clearing. You did the clearing and your soul shined. That's exactly it. So the first half of the book is dedicated to doing exactly what you did. And it took me, again, years to figure that out. But
I get it.
until the time you do that, you can't really come from your soul, because you don't know where it is. So
Totally.
spot on.
Oh, fist pump. This is good. I'm saying schmut is a technical term, of course, that we have to clear our
spiritual technical term.
I love this. I love this. I would like to honor our time here, but I would like to know one of the most beneficial schmut clearing capacities that you learned that maybe is still a spiritual practice for you. Because for me, I clear my energy on a very regular basis. I have various practices that I would say gets me aligned, connected to my soul, heart open, so I can make the best decisions in my life, so I can be present to you, to my clients, so I can feel grateful regardless of the circumstances. So what is your favorite practice or the most beneficial practice you've learned on this path?
Play.
Serious?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Play is if people talk about it, it's like, as soon as you talk about anything spiritual, people think about, somebody sitting in a lotus position in an ashram or on a mountaintop.
Right.
And I certainly do that as well. But I realize that a lot of people are too restless to do that, So I started thinking about ways that those restless people could also find freedom. Yeah. And for me, it's play. And anyone who has read the book or has done the process with me or has become my playmate by default would attest. It is truly one of I would actually be bold enough to say, for me, it's as liberating as meditating is. It actually is a form of meditation. So, and week 4 in my book is dedicated all about play, and there's different play personality types. So you have to customize your play, but play. Yes.
Oh my God. I have many different coaches, and one of them is my shaman, and he has what's called the Sphinx Code. And it's with tarot cards and combination of a lot of different ways to identify your soul. And I'm a magician, and magicians play. And I'll be totally honest with you. That's the last thing. It's almost like I need everything out of the way. Everything needs to be accomplished before I play. So I rarely get around to playing. But when I do give myself permission, I am so juicy and alive and delicious and full of faith I don't even need faith or trust. It just is. I'm just safe. I'm home. I'm myself. So I'm really glad you're reminding me of this. And what does play look like for you, Shirin? Give us some examples of what you
My
do.
God, I mean, big play is, I play with my wife, I play with my kids, and we could go on, we have a boat, and we could go out and we, take on different adventures,
Uh-huh.
even if they're somewhat fantastical. There's mini play. Like anytime I get stressed out, I'll put on house music or disco,
Yeah.
and but like goofy dancing, like I do
Yeah.
this like weird jungle dancing, and it's very liberating for
Uh-huh.
me. I have an entire language, and I'm surprised that she hasn't come by. My little puppy, multi-poo puppy, she and
Uh-huh.
I have conversations that I kid you not, that are in total gibberish that can last like 10 minutes long. We
Yeah.
debate, she has her opinions, I have, so things like that. That's just, I mean, like, and then I stop and then I'm on with, all my
Yep.
adulting, but it resets me. And
Yeah.
so I wrote the book so that it would be very experiential. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't be that somebody's reading it and be like, oh, well, that's a nice concept. So I have exercises throughout.
Uh-huh.
The play week is fun. Hopefully every week is enjoyable. But then I also have what's called the daily purge, which is a minimum of 6 minutes of just vomiting any negativity that's within you.
Yeah.
And Julia Cameron, in her book, The Artist's Way, had
Yes.
morning pages where you would
Sure.
write
Yep.
6. But again, not everybody loves to write. So
Yeah.
if you need to, dance and shake it off, you need to cartwheel.
Yep.
And
Mm.
as long as the intention is to purge negativity and you do it
Yep.
for 6 minutes, and it's
Yep.
just like, all right, let's get on with the day.
Again, and the embody, you're so connected to your body to get it out of your body. This is so important because we can, when I do work with my clients, what we're talking about is just the tip of the iceberg. There's this whole iceberg of subconscious, and it's all in our body. And how do we move it through? So I love this purging, and we don't have to throw up in ayahuasca to do it. We can just shake.
Correct. Not literally throwing up, but yes.
Exactly. Wow. And even just you sharing about it, Shirin, you come so alive when you said, it was the last thing I thought was going to come out of your mouth, play. And I'm like, universe, thank you. You brought exactly who needs to be on the show for sweet Alana and for all of our listeners, the power of play as adults. Yeah. How old are your kids?
They are 17 and 15.
Got it. Mine is 20. And I so remember the days of dinner. Why have dinner on the table when you can have dinner under the table and have a fort, right? So,
oh my God, they have, and I know we're running out of time, but we were stuck in a hurricane in Belize when they were much younger. And talk about play in the midst of total chaos. We were holed up in a bathroom, which was the only room with 4 walls in it.
Yeah.
For 4 hours, and I just told them I grew up with Tintin. I don't know, Tintin wasn't popular here, but it was in Iran.
Uh-huh.
And every Tintin story I read just came, and I'm sure I embellished and did all of that. But we would like nod off collectively, and then I would be back with another story, as like chaos is happening around us. So I'll have to say you could play at any time.
You absolutely can. Wow. That just reminds me of my mom passed 21 years ago. It's been a long time. But what we did after her celebration of life is we went for beer and fish and chips because that's what she liked to do. So you play and you celebrate. It's so beautiful.
I also love beer and chips.
Okay. Well,
in case we meet in person.
Yes, when we meet in person, we're going for beer and fish and chips. I friggin' love it. Malt vinegar on the chips too.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah. You're such a delight. Such a delight. I'm so grateful to know you and meet you. So I want everyone to know, Free to Be is your book, the 6-week guide to reclaiming your soul. And they can get it absolutely everywhere, but also on your site, which is your name, Shirin Etessam. So in completion, from your beautiful. We've got the body, mind, heart, and soul, all of you. What are they going to experience by the time they finish this book? They will be so glad they read it because
they have a true opportunity to either write or rewrite their life from the inside out. Truly.
Yeah.
Not for any other reason except to let their inner star shine. It's sort of like a supernova, you know. It's the ability to live big, live out loud, or not live big, but live truly as you are. Come as you are.
Exactly.
And knowing that there is a magical world and life that awaits and is waiting for you. And the last thing I want to say is that I think it's really important for people to know that their soul is very, very, very unique. We are all connected through whatever you want to call it, spirit, universal energy, whatever it is, but your soul imprint is solely yours.
Yes.
That is important to know. Like, well, why is that? Why is it that I am not like any other? And what does that mean? What does it mean if I let that shine?
Yeah. And I believe we need that. There's only one person that can sing that song. It's you. And if it doesn't get sung, all of us are less, I feel. But when all of us are shining that soul imprint, or all of us are singing our unique song, to me, that's the magical tapestry that's possible on the planet.
And if we're living our truth, we're also just kinder human beings. You know, I haven't met anyone who is truly living their lives who is a bully or mean or you know what I mean? So
I do.
It's also, you know, you become a better global citizen as a result.
Yeah. Because you're kind to yourself and you don't need anything on the outside to be absolutely peaceful on the inside. Yeah. I love this. So viewers and listeners, this has been a delicious conversation. Notice how all of us have our own paths that start off somewhere in the shame or the denial or the shrink fit, where we're not connected with our inner core. That's perfect. That is the continuum of life. We forget who we are to do this deep soul work, to remember who we are, to shine who we are. So my request is, when you finish this podcast, take a moment. Get out your journal and write down what really moved you, and take an action. Certainly get her book, Free to Be, and maybe take some actions there, purge and dance around the living room, talk to your dog in gibberish, whatever it's going to be. But make sure that this conversation literally moves the dial, that if we always move the dial one little step a day, we're in a completely new reality in no time. So allow this conversation to nourish your life, and know that I always have such an honor to be able to love the shit out of you every week here on Intimate Conversations. So Shirin, you are a delight. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me on the show. It's really been delightful.
Oh, I'm so glad. Until our fish and chips and beer, we love you all. Take care. Until next time. Love you. See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life. Okay, from this angle, I look really well endowed, but it's all perspective, right? Oh, wasn't that an amazing, amazing podcast? Hey, Muffin. She always comes over to say hello. Wasn't that the great punchline at the end when I was like, what's the most amazing tool that can really help people? And she's like, play. It is so true. It is so true. The ability to have joy, I think, is one of the scariest things there is. Because as soon as you have, you fully surrender and you fully let go and you fully have joy. I'm not talking happy addiction, sad depression. I'm not talking that roller coaster. I'm talking real joy. Real joy when you surrender and you know that life has you. Real joy when you let go of control and you feel held.
real joy, where you don't do that foreboding. Brene Brown calls it foreboding joy, when you have joy but you're waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, no, I mean really bliss. I believe it's not possible until you do the integration of all those unhealed wounds on the inside. I know it to be true. And with somebody as, professional and accomplished as Shirin, she's, it's even harder because you've got a reputation. You've probably got a lot of assets. You've got a lot of houses. You got a lot of, people rely on you. You've got divisions that are, you're the head of. You got a family. You got a lot. You got a lot. And so in order to slow down and go, even though there's a lot at stake. What's more at stake is if I don't do this work, I'm a ticking time bomb. It's gonna bite me in the ass in the form of a relationship demise, a bankruptcy, an illness. Something's gonna get you if you keep running away from what you know is sabotaging your joy. What is making you feel shame? What is making you not be present with the kids? What is making you put up with a sexless marriage? What is making your eyes wander, right? Takes a lot of bravery. I'm going to say humility, fuckload of courage to go, okay, way too much is at stake. I'm willing to do the deep work. The inside creates the outside so that I can resolve these unhealed traumas that create those patterns, whatever the patterns are for you. Narcissistic relationship patterns or cowardly behaviors, even though on the outside you look like you got it all together, or just, 3 a.m. in the morning, like, I can't stop the spinning. When those wounds are integrated, there is the ability to do what Shirin said so magnificently, play and truly have that joy that no one and no circumstance can take away, because it's from the inside out, not the outside in. It's not circumstantial. It's the essence of who you are, and that is worth doing the work, because that ripples into work, kids, the bedroom, just a spring in your step, and the ability, even as I'm shooting this video, the website was down and now the website is up, and I didn't lose my shit. I used to lose my shit all the time. I did. And I'm so proud that I've done enough work that I could just breathe through that and continue my workout. All right, I love you so much. Contact us if you're ready to have that intimacy breakthrough and do that work. And be sure to get Shirin's book and follow her and get to know her more. Oh, there's my alarm. I've got a podcast interview soon. Got to go get some makeup on, get dressed. Oh, life. God, I'm so grateful. So grateful to be with you. I love you.